Hey everybody, before we get to the show, I just wanted to tell everyone to please check out the episode description today. I am putting a few links, donation links for the victims' families and survivors of the recent mass shootings in Uvalde as well as Buffalo. Please, if you can, donate or share the links with your friends and families. Let's work together and end gun violence. This is absolutely an epidemic. I live in Burbank, California, where there are 14 gun stores. 14. There are, I think, more gun stores in within a 10-mile radius in Burbank than any other city in the U.S. almost. It's ridiculous. Anyway, this is something that's really important to me, and I know a lot of people across the country. There have been so many more mass shootings since Uvalde. It's heart-wrenching, and I hope this is finally the time that things change. So please, let's work together. Let's end gun violence. Check out the links. Thank you so much. Please stay safe, and I hope you enjoy the show. Alright guys, welcome to another Mishable podcast, Horror Decomposed. My name is Zach. With me today, the one and only Professor Casey.
Hello.
Also with me, the Criterion One, the Graduate, Chris Pistol.
Good evening.
Is that Kevin Boris? Is Boris with me
Kevin just paid good money for a guy to do Boris. I'm like, Kevin, what the fuck are you doing? Call Kris. Pay him the good money to be Boris.
There's nothing to be afraid of.
I think Kevin will listen to this episode since he went to the event we're talking about. We'll see.
So this is going to be a fun one because Casey and I were at Monsterpalooza yesterday. We're going to talk about it, but because of that, I have no notes for today. I have stuff to talk about, but I'm going in completely blind, so this is going to be a wild show, guys.
Our dicks are out, no notes.
Dicks out for Monsterpalooza. Woo! All right.
Just swaying back and forth.
As far as laying out the show, Chris and I are going to talk about Stranger Things Season 4, the first 7 episodes, Part 1, I should say. Chris is also going to talk about a movie called Men. Casey and I are going to talk about Monsterpalooza. And we'll see if there's anything else after that. Probably not.
Probably not. I just want to really quickly say, I don't want to do a full review or anything like that, but watch The Stylist on Shudder. It was pretty decent. I didn't think it stuck the ending. I think it telegraphed it too much and then kind of executed the ending poorly. But the rest of it's pretty interesting. Solid 3-ski on Letterboxd. Check it out on Shudder.
Is that about a killer pencil for a tablet?
No. Stylist with a T. It's you've been working at the Apple Store far too long, Chris. It is.
We don't even call them stylists.
Oh, you guys don't?
Call them Apple Pencil.
Oh, that's right.
If people say stylus, we have little chutes in the floor that we can press a button and they'll just fall into the pit. Yeah.
Okay, you know what? I have a little mini review before we get into the meat and potatoes of this episode. So we were talking about the Letterboxd top 250 in horror like a week or so ago, and the percentage that we've seen. And I think I'm at 30%, and these guys are both around 50%. I think Casey's like 52 or something.
Yeah, but I think I might have been using a different list. There's like 3 lists, and I'm at different numbers on all of them, so I'm not sure.
Well, the one I only know the one, and I'm at 30%. It's full of a lot of really odd, obscure horror movies that no one's ever heard of. Mm-hmm. And I decided to make a dent in it by choosing the most obscure one I could see. And starting with that. And it's I feel like maybe a slightly lesser known Shaw Brothers movie called The Boxer's Omen. I was telling Casey about it.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
Have you seen it?
I've seen it a while ago. Yeah, I don't know that I would really call it a horror movie, but
it's got some horrific scenes for sure.
I mean, if the Golden Vampires movie is a horror movie, this is a horror movie.
I would say this is more horror than that. That's like an action horror movie. This is like
so. Damn it, Zach! What number is it on the list?
The Boxer's Omen.
Yeah.
Oh, it was like way down there. It's got a weird. The picture is like a bald dude who's blue and he has red eyes, and then there's like kanji, I think, in front of his name.
Did you just hit random, or are you going back?
No, I just scrolled down and I saw this, and I was like, it looks kind of weird. And then I watched the trailer, and I was like, that looks insane. And so
I can't find.
What did you end up watching it on
There's
YouTube?
something called V.
I watched it on
DIY.
YouTube. It's not great quality, but it's good enough.
Okay, I think that's where I saw it too. I was trying to watch like
Glass King.
all the Shaw Brother movies I can. I don't even think this is before I had Letterboxd. It's probably not even on mine. Shit.
So this movie is about it's about a boxer. His brother is like horribly injured in this fight against Bolo Young from Bloodsport. And the funny thing about this is I watched Bloodsport for the first time the same weekend I saw Boxer's Omen. totally a coincidence, but I happened to have a Bolo Young double feature.
Whoa! You told me you watched Bloodsport. You didn't tell me it was for the first time. Jesus Christ!
I've never seen it. It was one of those movies that I've been meaning to.
You got to see Blood Fight, the knockoff that also has Bolo Young in it. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I was like, wow, what are the odds of that? So I watched them like back to back, basically, and yeah, pretty good. Some pretty good little boxing scene. Anyway, so this boxer wants to avenge his brother, and all of a sudden there's like he kind of gets ambushed in this alley by a gang or something, and then he's saved by this weird like angel monk. And so he goes to find out more about this monk. He goes overseas to Thailand. I think it's to Thailand, right? Is that where Bolo Young's from, Thailand?
Not in real life. I don't know what they said in the movie.
He goes overseas to challenge Bolo Young to a boxing match. And there he's, once again, is visited, I think, by this monk or whatever. Basically what happens is this guy was twins with this monk in a past life, and this monk needs this boxer to like train and become a monk and defeat this evil sorcerer to bring him back from the dead.
It happens.
And so there's a whole like training sequence, and then you get this duel sequence in the middle of the film between this boxer guy who's now a monk and this evil wizard, and a whole bunch of crazy shit happens. This wizard sticks a bunch of like spiders and bats on him. At one point, this monk like takes his head off, or the wizard takes his head off his body and sticks his head at this guy with like a bunch of tentacles coming from his head. It's a really wild movie. I hope some of that made sense. I think I gave it like 3 stars. It gets a little slow at a certain point.
You didn't even mention the beastly crocodile skeletons.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of random stuff in here. Also, kind of, a little exploitive of the nude women that they probably put in this movie and didn't need to be nude. Kind of just there for nudity.
Where is this movie streaming, Zach?
It's on YouTube. It's
Of
just
course.
like someone put it on YouTube. It's in 480.
Oh no!
It's decent. I watched it on my big screen TV and it looked okay for 480. Like it wasn't that pixelated considering it was on my big, 55-inch TV. So this is the Boxer's Omen. So if you're looking to make a dent in the Letterboxd or top 250,
I mean, we should make this a
regular.
We should make this a regular segment where we try to go through this list. And pick
How
random
like
shit
this
we've
is
never
on
seen.
here and not like I don't think the Monster Squad is on that list, so it's not a great list. But there's some good movies.
Monster Squad's not quite a horror movie though.
More than this, I don't know.
And
Okay.
I would throw out the possibility that this might have influenced the game Spartan X that came out as Kung Fu Master in the arcades here, which came out as Kung Fu on the NES here. Because there's a boss that's an evil wizard that you can kick his head off and he gets new heads. And yeah, I think that might be from this. So, kind of cool.
The way a lot of these lists are sort of arranged is by, by metrics. So like this film may have more positive reviews than Monster Squad, but it's also probably been seen by 5% of the people who've seen Monster Squad. So it's kind of like Rotten Tomatoes in that sense.
And I would say Monster Squad's a horror movie. It's got Dracula and Frankenstein in it. Come on. It's a horror comedy.
Yeah,
it's a horror comedy.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
But yeah. Okay. So should we get to the good stuff?
Let's get to the good stuff.
Let's do it.
So I don't know. I guess, do we have a feature scare today? I guess it's Stranger Things, right? Does that count? It's not a feature, but it's basically a feature because these are feature.
I mean, Men is a feature.
Okay. Yeah, but only you saw it. A feature scare has
That's
at least
true.
two of us have to have seen it. So, if you want to talk about Men first, that would be like Don't Cross the Streams. I guess. No, it's not. It's in theaters. So, no, it wouldn't. Never mind. Do you want to talk about Men first?
You cannot stream this film. Yeah, so Men is a new film from Alex Garland. So, produced by A24. So already there's like a stigma going in that I'm sure some people have about a horror movie released by A24. If you've seen the trailer, it kind of looks like, an A24 horror film for sure. But Alex Garland's a really interesting, filmmaker. This is the same guy who did Ex Machina, Annihilation. He fucking wrote 28 Days Later, wrote Dread, Sunshine. So
He's a talented guy.
he's a talented guy. He's got a great repertoire for sure. So Men, going by the trailer, essentially it is surrounding our kind of lead female character named Harper, who is played by Jessie Buckley, who's like kind of the it girl right now, the indie girl anyway. She was in I'm Thinking of Ending Things back in 2020. She was on Chernobyl.
Oh, that's where I recognize her from.
Yeah, really talented actor. She's in a lot of shit right now. But sort of this aftermath of a personal tragedy that happens to her. Her husband. This isn't a spoiler. It's pretty laid out at the beginning. Her husband has seemingly committed suicide. So she does what every woman in a horror film who has experienced a tragedy does. She decides to drive out to the countryside and completely isolate herself in a house that she is unfamiliar with, in an environment where she doesn't know anyone. That's the one like trope in this movie that I'm always like, why is that a thing? Like, they gotta come up with better explanations for why people do this.
It's always a thing. It never stops being a thing.
I mean, I understand like wanting to be alone to process things, but yeah. Anyway,
It's like going into a dark room and not turning the lights on at this point. We just gotta
Indeed.
go to
turn
Hawaii
that
or
off in our
something.
brain. Yeah.
yeah,
Go
I
to a
would fucking
beach.
go to. Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
Do a Forgetting Sarah Marshall. Just hope your ex isn't there. Yeah.
We never find out what this, and yeah, we never find out what this woman does. But by the super nice English cottage that she's picked, clearly is not wanting for money. So yeah, I was like, I would fucking go to Hawaii for sure. But anyway, so she drives out to isolate herself in the English countryside, to heal from her trauma. But of course, creepy shit starts happening. At first, it appears, that someone, maybe something from the woods, is stalking her. We sort of see this reoccurring image of a naked man that is like seems to be stalking her. A lot of suspenseful sequences of her sort of wandering around and also being stalked. And it gets weirder and weirder from there. And I don't want to give too much away from what happens in this movie, but there are, lots of themes about the just sort of like the primal threatening nature of men over women. She encounters, multiple men throughout the village, and an interesting casting choice is that they all seem to be played by the same actor. So they're all played by this English actor named Roy Kinnear, and they all seem to have like his face. Like she meets a priest and even a child, and the guy who owns the cottage and the local policeman. The kid was like a little one step too far. Like they try to kind of make it work. Like, oh yeah, that could be what a kid looks like, but it's clearly like, what the fuck is wrong with his face? Yeah, and it kind of like snowballs into the super. Things start snowballing into supernatural territory, and freaky fucked up shit happens. But it's all really executed, I think, pretty well. And the themes that Alex Garland wants to explore here, I think, are handled pretty well. Throughout the movie, we kind of get flashbacks to her relationship with her husband, who's not played by that actor. Her husband is played by a different actor here. but we kind of get flashbacks of their relationship to sort of peel back like a little bit more of what happened.
I 100% thought the reveal would be that it was the husband's face.
Yeah. And it all sort of like culminates in like a really like fucked up, disgusting sequence toward the end that I don't want to reveal on this podcast, but it is like it was shocking and that I wasn't expecting anything that like sort of Cronenberg-esque to happen. But it is messed up.
I think there's magazines with full picture spreads of said scene.
Oh,
I don't know. Yeah,
right.
like I think
there's
it's
a lot of
kind of spoiled.
There's a little bit of mix of CGI with practical stuff, and it's done really, really well. Like I couldn't really tell. Like there were some shots where I'm clear, like, okay, well that couldn't physically happen to a person. So like it's hard. It was hard to tell like what was done with like, you know, really, really great Rob Bottin-esque sort of practical effects and what was CGI. So that was done really well.
Nice.
But yeah, I think this movie definitely has a lot of suspense. It was interesting seeing it with my wife, who also enjoyed it, but, you know, was seeing things that I wasn't necessarily seeing. I mean, the whole sort of beginning part of this movie where it's just Jessie Buckley, like, going for a walk in the woods by herself and having, you know, like this sort of a beautiful transcendent sort of experience, and then it like immediately gets interrupted when we like see that you know, a mysterious like man is stalking her, and like just alone the tension that brings, you know, was I think interesting and palpable. But I thought this movie was really fucking good. Apparently it's getting like the reviews are like all over the place. Some people are like hating this movie, some people are really liking it. So I've yet to like have an in-depth conversation with somebody who didn't like it, because me and my wife both really liked it. But yeah, it's interesting that it's creating that sort of polarizing reaction.
Everyone I know that's seen it's kind of raving about it, but I saw like on, you know, like Letterboxd, for example, some people were a little...
It's at a 3 on Letterboxd and a 6.3 in IMDb, so it's definitely gotten a polarizing reception.
Yeah, it's one of those movies that the Letterboxd ratings of people that I actually follow are much different than the norm, and that tends to be that a movie's worth seeing when it's like that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't know if the fact that, you know, there's like discussion already of the fact that Alex Garland is a man and he's making a film called Men that wants to explore these sort of topics. If that's like what people are sort of coming up with problems of, I don't really know, but maybe.
We're just here to say we like the movies, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it
or
was
don't
discussion, but
in
yeah.
some cases. Yeah, I feel like, Kris, you should make this an episode of your Disney podcast and just mess with people, since you have the two perspectives
Walt
on the
Disney's
film.
Men.
I am gonna take a wager and say, unless you're in a relationship, this is probably not a great date movie.
No?
No, probably not. I mean, I'm glad my relationship
I've heard
was
enough that
firmly
it's like-
established.
Yeah,
I mean, my first date movie was The Lighthouse, but that's probably more romantic than this is.
It's got Willem Dafoe in it, man.
I was just waiting for Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson to kiss.
You know?
We're sticking with Society is the best date movie then. Still on this podcast.
The endings might have something in common.
Guys, the day I realized that my wife had seen Society was the day I think I realized I was going to marry her.
This is see, there's liking Society, and then there's like owning a 4K Blu-ray of Society. I don't know.
Sure.
Is there a 4K Blu-ray of Society? There probably is, right? I would guess.
There's definitely Blu-rays.
There's definitely a Blu-ray from Arrow, I believe.
Yeah, Arrow had the really cool cover for it.
What was your rating, Kris, for Men?
Oh, I gave it a 4 out of 5. I mean, I was
Nice.
I was genuinely creeped out in sequences. I was like doing the thing in horror movies when I'm genuinely creeped out by stuff. I put my hands on my face like this, and and just squeeze my head a little bit. Don't cover my eyes, but the support makes me feel better, and I was doing that for a good bit of this film.
Like peeling your eyes open.
Yeah. So yeah, I would definitely recommend it, and if you're a fan of Society, I think you'll dig it.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, we are the Society Fans podcast. That's actually the rejected title. It's the rejected pitch I had before Zach went to horror.
Be. And if you're afraid of men, as you should be, you will definitely identify with this film.
Mm-hmm.
I was a little afraid of men at Monsterpalooza just because there were too many of them around.
That happens.
There was a lot of the body sweat there.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, I'm hoping I get to see this in theaters. If not, I'll probably wait for streaming. I also really want to see Watcher, the new film thriller by Chloe Acuna, who directed the Hail Ratma segment in VHS 94. So
and we got to meet Ratma this weekend.
We did, yeah. Do you want to do Monsterpalooza or Stranger Things next? What do you guys want to do?
Let's do Monsterpalooza. Come on. I've naturally transitioned into it, Zach.
Go ahead, Casey. Take it away.
Okay, so it's been at least 2 years since we've been to Monsterpalooza, our quote-unquote home convention. One of my friends was saying it was more like 3. A friend of mine that I tend to only see at these conventions that I've known for probably like 20 years now. And it's kind of interesting because this convention keeps growing and growing, and it seems like the few years off didn't keep it from getting even bigger. It was very crowded. A lot of people there, but that didn't keep it from being fun. It's a great convention. For those of you that haven't heard our previous episodes, don't go to the convention, have no idea what the fuck we're talking about right now. Monsterpalooza is a celebration of the art of monsters. So there tends to be a focus on practical effects and making monsters and doing makeup demos and things like that on the show floor. But as it grows, it becomes more like a regular horror convention where you're meeting celebrities, you're buying merchandise, things like that. Basically, you go on the show floor, you have a great time. There's always a fun museum for you to walk through that we'll highlight as well. And it's a good time. I'd say this is one of the better years because there have been some that were duds a little bit. But this place was jam-packed full of cool stuff. And even though we waited 2 hours to get in, it felt like it was worth it. But yeah, I mean, I guess the best way to attack it would be in order, right, Zach?
Yeah. So we got there. Mm-hmm. We were in line. Our friend Byron brought voodoo donuts with no napkins.
No napkins. Yeah.
In the words of the Ninja Turtles, what for?
And, we had extras, so we gave some to some of the people in line next to us.
Yes, if you got a donut from us, you're welcome. We should have given them business cards with the donuts. Like, you have to listen to our podcast.
It's funny. There's this guy that every year that's dressed in like this demon bear outfit. I don't even know how to describe it with horns.
Who may or may not be Elliot Brodsky, the guy that does the convention. I'm not completely sure.
Anyway, he came by to us, and Byron offered him the last donut we have, and he goes, "Oh shit," because he's in like full on makeup. Like if he takes a bite of that
giant
donut,
plastic monster hands, yeah,
it's over. And he was really contemplating it. It was pretty funny. He didn't go for it ultimately, but he wanted half. But like we didn't have a knife, and we couldn't like.
We ended up moving and getting into the convention by the time we saw him again. But yeah, dude, this once you go inside, you kind of have to make a mad dash for the museum because the line gets really long to go in there. And the museum's usually where the larger scale, not all of them, but some of the larger scale props are that are on display. There were some pretty cool highlights there. A couple of them were left over from the Star Wars Celebration that was also like this last week.
Is that confirmed? Probably,
yes.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, I asked Reed. One of them was the life-size Rancor head from The Mandalorian. The specific Danny Trejo ride-on version. I'm sorry, not The Mandalorian, The Book of Boba Fett. And there was a 1-to-1 replica recreation of the Yoda puppet that was there as well. That's been like a big project people have been working on. We also got to see full-size Psycho Gorman. He was a cowboy. Kind of looked like Alan Grant from Jurassic Park a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got to see an awesome piece that was a life-size Frankenstein that was the Aurora model kit complete with brushes and paints and stuff like that, but in a life-size scale, which is really cool. And a lot of cool tributes to movies that we liked.
Saw Old Man Lopan from Big Trouble in Little China.
Yeah, there was one of those eerily realistic recreations of real monsters, all three of them.
That was awesome, yeah.
Yeah, one of the great stuff.
One of the zombies from Thriller, that makeup was recreated.
Yeah,
I think he might be the monster. Like he's definitely featured, like highly featured in that music video.
It's the one that
with like the blonde goatee, mustache, beard, like the.
Yeah, it's not the one at the very end, but it's a gets a good close up, and then we had geez, like there's always kind of like a poltergeist room. Ratma wasn't in the museum though.
Oh, was that not the museum? Oh, you're right, yeah.
And so we go through there, and then we go to the show floor. There was an artist that was selling limited edition Monsterpalooza Nightmare on Elm Street 3 shirts. So we run there, and the guy sold all the shirts on Friday. Damn it. You would have sold 5 more if you had them in stock. Just saying, at least 3 or 4 more if you had them in stock right then. But the show floor is great. It's vendors that I buy stuff from constantly. They're in person, so sometimes you get some really good deals. Vinegar Syndrome had some great deals, and they brought some out-of-print stuff. I already bought quite a bit on their halfway to Black Friday sale, so there wasn't much I needed, but I did pick up a copy of Pledge Night on Blu-ray from them. Did you grab anything from Vinegar Syndrome or Severin, Zach?
I didn't. I wanted to, but I really wanted to get like American Werewolf in London on 4K, and there wasn't as many vendors with like more like mass market horror movies. It was more like the obscure Vinegar Syndrome, kind of rare, shot on video, or, rare B-sides, whatever, the lesser known horror movies, unheralded horror movies, which is, they excel in, producing high quality, print stuff and distributing and stuff.
Vinegar Syndrome would punch you in the face for saying shot on video because they specifically do not do anything shot on video. Also,
you know what I mean. Like, I
got Warriors of the Year 2072, which is a post-apocalyptic film by Lucio Fulci. It's like Rollerball, but Fulci gory, so I can't wait to watch it. It is that's a Severin release. As you can tell by the black box, they like to do that on the Blu-rays. Looking forward to watching both of those. Got to talk to some cool people there. Got to talk to... I won't repeat the conversation, but I got to talk to the family of Vern Langdon about the Minnesota Iceman and the Patterson Bigfoot. If you know about those things a lot, you might know what the conversation was about. Also got a shirt from Vern Langdon of his zombie, which is an iconic mask that was on the cover of Famous
shirt.
Monsters of Filmland. Yeah, I had to get that. We also saw Cavity Colors there. Got myself a They Live shirt, and I thank them for making not black shirts like everyone else. They're very good about doing other colors. My They Live shirt's blue.
Yeah, except they didn't bring one of their not black shirts that I wanted.
It happens.
I'm only going to give him so many props. He didn't bring the one I wanted that you just released. Come on.
Sorry.
Anyway.
I'm sorry that the 70 shirts that they brought, they didn't bring the one that you wanted.
They didn't bring 70. They brought 20. Okay. Anyway, it's from love, Cavity Colors. We come from a place of love, Yeah, they had a lot of cool celebrity signings that we just walked by. Like but like a large portion of the cast of Scream was there. So Skeet Ulrich, Matthew Lillard.
Oh,
Jamie
Oh,
Kennedy
skeet,
and
skeet,
Nev
skeet,
Campbell.
skeet, skeet.
with everyone booing Jamie Kennedy.
They were like across the aisle from each other, and
None of them were next to each other. They
Yeah,
Nev Campbell and Matthew Lillard were, and then Jamie Kennedy was across from them, and then Skeet Ulrich was like across, like an area from Matthew Lillard. They
I'm
were
not a
all in the
Scream.
same.
I'm not a Scream guy, but I hear Matthew Lillard is like the nicest person in the world.
Yeah,
to me
he
at a
definitely seems
convention.
like it.
But
Jamie
yeah,
Kennedy is the opposite.
I did not get to ask David Naughton about the Be a Pepper commercials, though I did see him when I went back in, Casey, after you guys left.
I didn't
He was on his
see.
phone though.
I didn't see most of the people because they were at the celebrity photo ops, which took them away from their tables. So I think a lot of people, if they were just trying to get shit signed, probably didn't get shit signed. But that's not what you should be at this con for. It's the art of monsters, not the art of signatures. You want to meet celebs? Go to Horror Hound weekend. How about that?
I do just really want to highly applaud all the artists and vendors there that are putting their stuff on display. You guys are so incredibly talented. I'm always just overwhelmed by the amount of talent on display when I go to these things. It's so impressive and incredible, and all your artwork deserves to be highlighted. So I really hope you guys continue to give an outlet to show your work and what you guys do, because you guys are rock stars. It's so fantastic, from molds and toy figures to paintings to
Speaking of toy figures, bro. We talked to Jada Toys, who has the Universal Monster license.
Mm-hmm.
And they're also the ones that made the Frankenberry and Count Chocula figures. And
Yeah.
so I immediately went up and talked to them and told them how much I love those figures. They did assure me that Boo Berry is coming soon. And I asked about Fruit Brute and Yummy Mummy, and they said they don't know yet. So if you want those guys, buy Boo Berry when he comes out so that they can see that there's a market for it. You should already have
Yeah.
Chocula and Frankenberry. Come on. They're already out. Get them now if you don't have them. But they also had some great exclusives, like a Frankenstein that came with the whole lab scene. Really cool. They have like a wide range of horror products. They also do kind of like model cars with little plastic figurines of the horror character. Like they have the Nightmare on Elm Street one, Freddy car, things like that.
I think one of my favorite things we saw, and the other cool thing about this convention, is people come in cosplay. They dress up. A lot of them wear really elaborate costumes. I saw a guy, I think after you guys left, Casey, he was playing like a frozen like mountain climber, and so he was like in a full getup. I don't know if it was from a movie, but his face was like partially frozen. His boots had like icicles off of them. His orange. He was wearing this big orange vest with like snow patches on it. It looked absolutely realistic. It was a fantastic costume, and he was walking really slow, like he was, partly frozen. It was great. But my favorite costume I saw was someone dressed up as MacReady from The Thing, and he had his dog, and his dog had on, the scene from The Thing where the dog is taken over by the parasite, and he has like appendages coming out of his body. Well, his dog had like this appendage with like tentacles on his back. And so he was dressed as MacReady with like the flamethrower, and so he poses with his dog, aiming the flamethrower at his wonderfully sweet dog.
This Australian cattle dog that was an
Yeah.
absolute sweetheart, such a good boy. Having fun too. Actually, seeming like he enjoyed being there. So
If you want to see a
that's good
picture of
stuff.
that, go to my instagram.com/earth2zach, earth the number 2 Zach, ZAK. I actually haven't posted anything on Twitter. I just haven't gotten around to it, but there's a bunch of stuff on my Instagram.
If you
so
follow
check
me
that out.
on Twitter, you'll see a good amount of stuff. I got
Yeah.
you. This was a great time. I didn't see some of the companies I was really looking forward to seeing. Like Super 7 wasn't there. I was kind of hoping they would be. But hey, that just keeps money in my wallet, right? So you want me
I
to
was
spend some
surprised. I was
cash?
surprised you didn't buy that Shao Kahn mask for Mortal Kombat. Casey.
That was expensive, and I have nowhere to put that shit other than wearing it in my classroom as I teach, which would be
Which you
great.
should.
Yeah, the whole thing was a lot of fun, though. I did get to see that Trick or Treat Studios Toxic Avenger mask, and the fact that I didn't buy it says all you need to know about that Trick or Treat Studios Toxic Avenger mask in person. How underwhelming it looked, but Yeah, hey, they tried. But yeah, I was looking forward to seeing some stuff like that in person. Because like, shipping costs are insane now. So being able to catch these guys at a con and just pick something up is you're saving money there in general. And sometimes there's some deals to be had. Got to talk to a lot of cool people too running some of these tables, like the Creature Bazaar people, which it's like I really hope they get their own convention again and we get to go, because that's something that was about to happen right when COVID happened and we weren't able to go to it. Zach, that was the dude with the Mankind shirt that we were talking to.
Oh, right. Yeah.
They had a Tetsuo the Iron Man figure complete with drill dick. It was pretty amazing. But yeah, we got to see some cool stuff. We got to eat some good Mexican food at El Cholo across the street.
It's a good spot.
And
it's a good spot.
yeah, I had a good time. So if you've never been to Monsterpalooza, hopefully there is going to be Son of Monsterpalooza this year. Usually it's around October. The thing is, Monsterpalooza was about a month late. It's kind of like a month later than it usually is, maybe 2 months later. So I don't know if they're doing Son of Monsterpalooza, but if they are, and you're in the Burbank area or feel like driving down, go for it. We'll definitely keep you posted on it, okay? So listen to our podcast. We'll let you know as soon as we know, because we love this stuff and we'd like to see more of you there. See us and say hello. 3 people understood the Tom Atkins Thrill Me shirt. I'm very disappointed. 3 people. I counted.
Oh, I'm sure more people understood it. They just didn't comment on it, Casey.
Did it just
No,
say
if you
thrill
don't-
me, or did it have his
It
face
says
on it?
thrill me.
Yeah,
And
it says
both.
thrill me.
It says both. It's both his face and it says thrill me.
Yeah, and he's drinking like a martini. He looks great.
It's
Wearing some
it's like a
sunglasses.
bright like neon blue tie shirt. It's very colorful.
Yeah, which I wore so it would be easier for these guys to find me.
Yes,
and it
thank you,
worked.
Casey.
Yeah.
I would
'cause
prefer
you know, when
It's
you're in
Miller
a
time.
That's a real tip for a horror convention, though, Chris. If you're gonna be in a sea of black shirts, wear something more colorful so your friends can find you.
Yeah,
That
absolutely.
is your tip of the day.
Echo everything Casey said. It's really a celebration of monsters and horror movies and horror pop culture and more than and like fantasy sci-fi pop culture bit as well. It's just a really, really wonderful time, as long as your back doesn't act up like mine did.
Oh yeah, mine too. Yeah, we were both kind of feeling like shit by the end of it, but it was worth it.
But yeah, no, worth the pain, and hopefully my chiropractor can help me out. I do want to check out. I really, really want to check out the party they have every Saturday. I was just right after that. I stuck around for a walk for end gun violence protest that my sister-in-law was going to, and so I stuck around for that. And by the end of that, I was just like out of fuel. So like, I didn't have the energy to go back and party for, I don't know, a couple hours. I'd love to check it out. I wish it was like a 2-day party, but it is only Saturday night, so I missed it, unfortunately. But maybe next year, or maybe if they do one, are they doing one in the fall?
I don't know, but we'll let everyone know.
If Midsummer Scream has a party, I don't know if they have a party. Maybe I'll check that out.
They absolutely do. It's already in the ads and everything.
Okay, maybe I'll check that out then.
Yeah, I might do Midsummer Scream, but only if I can get a golden bat pass, which I'm thinking of. Basically, what I'm doing before I decide to go to Midsummer Scream is making sure I didn't get COVID from Monsterpalooza first.
Yeah, that was a concern of mine as well. I was masked for the most part.
I was 100% of the time, but not a lot of people were. So yeah, that's just kind of how cons are right now.
It was. I would only take my mask down or off for like brief respites, but generally I had it on the whole time inside. Not outside, but inside. Yeah, but a lot of them, I would say 60% of the people there probably weren't masked, if not more.
Yeah, and I feel good today though. I feel good today, so hopefully that's a good sign.
So hopefully, but yeah, that was Monsterpalooza. Any parting thoughts, Casey? It was really, really fun, and I'm really glad we got to go again. So many, just wonderful things on display there. Hats off to all the artists again, and the practical effects and the makeups and the body spray and just so many wonderful the molds and the sculpts and so much cool stuff to see. It's really sensory overload. So if you go into it the first time, if you've never been before, you're gonna feel overwhelmed. I feel overwhelmed every time. Without fail. But just settle in, take a deep breath, go row by row, go at your own pace, and you'll enjoy it.
Yeah,
And make sure you go with make sure you go with somebody. I really do think it's better if you go with a friend. You can absolutely enjoy it by yourself, but I think for a first time, I would try and find someone to go with. That's just my
Plus,
recommendation.
you wanna have somebody that can hold the camera for you for some of the photo ops. You know what I mean? At the very
Yeah.
least.
So that was Monsterpalooza, which brings us to our feature scare today, which is Stranger Things Season 4, Part 1. So let's get to it. This is our feature scare.
Part 4, Part 1.
Yeah.
Which they're not really advertising it as a Part 1. And I've seen like some people online have confusion over whether or not this is like there was going to be a basically a very soon to come conclusion for the season.
Hey, they got to get those subscription dollars any way they can. I'm surprised
true.
they only split it into 2 parts because Netflix is garbage and has nothing good. So they need to, once they have the one show that they haven't canceled that's successful, they got to milk it a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know if they're hoping this will save the ship or at least keep the boat afloat for a little while.
Who knows? We might hear it's canceled next week and then just get the next half of the season and that's it.
What I'm seeing so far is a lot of articles saying that this was like their biggest, most streamed premiere that they've had so far.
That doesn't surprise me. It's been, 2 years since the last season? And
Yeah, pretty much.
It's been a wait, and I think this has definitely been more than worth the wait. This is absolutely a really epic season. Every episode is at least like an hour and 6 minutes. Most of them are like an hour and 15 minutes. They're like basically, short movies. And I know the last 2 episodes, at least the second part, I think is 2 hours and 19 minutes. I'm not sure how long the next one is, but the first part is. But
Yeah, they're really going all in
Yeah.
on the length.
despite the length, it might be a little off-putting to some of you, especially if you're coming from like Disney Plus, which is like their shows are way shorter. It does not feel padded to me. I never once felt like this was getting really long, and I'm just kind of tired. If I felt tired, it's because I watched it like at 10 o'clock at night, and I was just tired from work. The episodes did not tire me out at all. I was thoroughly enjoying them. I didn't feel like there were any. I mean, personally, I didn't feel like there were really any extraneous scenes that didn't need to be there. I felt like everything. I thought they did a great job giving every character something meaningful to do and an interesting arc. And so I've really enjoyed what they've done with the season so far. But what are your thoughts, Chris? And we can maybe talk about a couple specific things. I don't want to spoil too much. Casey hasn't seen it, and he definitely should jump back into it at some point.
You can spoil all you want.
I'm not going to spoil it, Casey, because you are very silly for not watching Stranger Things.
Sorry, I'm just not into it that much. I don't
You know, we did a rewatch. Me and my wife did a rewatch of season 3, which is probably my favorite season, actually.
It's great. It's really great.
Yeah, without going too much into plot, I think this. I do feel like I don't know if some scenes dragged, but definitely some character arcs or some character storylines dragged for me in this one. And if you're someone who really hated the episode in season 2 where Elle goes off by herself.
Oh, the one that got me to stop watching the series. Yeah.
Well, yeah. One thing I think that works really well about the show, is the dynamic between the kids. And pretty much since season 1, they've been splitting these kids up, and making different group factions, which is always interesting. I was a big fan of, the relationship between, what's the fat kid's name?
What? Dustin?
Dustin, sorry.
He's not fat.
He's not fat, but he's like, yeah. He fits the fat kid stereotypes from like the 80s movies. He's like the nerdier one, or maybe the more eccentric one. Sorry, no fat shaming here. But like him and when him and Steve like hook up, that sounds weird. When they team up,
Partner up,
in season 2, and their sort of like friendship bond really sort of develops over season 3. That's fun. That's interesting that they can sort of like split these characters up. Put some with other characters that you wouldn't typically think would go together, but the more and more that they keep splitting these kids up into different groups, like the more sort of like I feel like it loses a little bit of something, and I don't know. Now I feel like we need to sort of go into the main story and talk a little bit what happens.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think the cast has gotten so big, you can't have all of them together. Like, it's just too much. It's too big of a cast. That hasn't bothered me, and I felt like they've tried to, like, this season, the groups that are split together are different than last season. They're mixing up some of the pairings. Some of them are the same, but they've, like, added characters to it.
There are also, like, two main characters that are pretty much just isolated this entire season from everyone else.
Yeah, but I mean, that hasn't bothered me. I mean, they're doing that. They're off on their own sort of adventure. That everything does tie in by the end of the first 7 episodes, which I thought was really well executed. So yeah, I mean, what you wanted to get into?
I do like that they are really episodes? Sort of for the first time, like sort of tying things together story wise about, really sort of hammering home the sort of mysteries of the Upside Down, its creation and its soul, sort of like where, its rules and everything. They're really sort of like tying that down and providing some explanations for those for the first time. Because like while me and my wife were watching season 3, we were talking about how we can't really remember a lot of, like, mostly what we take away from the show is the character dynamics, and we don't really remember like who was the villain? Like, what was the villain in season 2? I remember the dogs, but like the Demogorgon dogs.
Yeah, there's some of the dynamics from season 2. Like, I totally forgot about Paul Reiser's character and had to remind myself and go,
oh yeah. And it's also like what is the Upside Down? Like, what is its purpose? Like, what is its real connection with Elle? We couldn't remember like any of that stuff. So like, yeah, like all the sort of explanations for the supernatural stuff, we couldn't remember any of that. And I think it's largely because they haven't really explained anything up until this season. I definitely don't think they have been planning this from the beginning. I think they got to this point where they were like, okay, we need to wrap this up, so we probably need to like come up with some sort of satisfactory thing to tie this all together. I think it works, but it definitely like shows its hand a little bit.
I feel like they had more of it sketched out than you think, but I think they didn't expand on everything until, I mean, this season was written a couple years ago, but like, I think they had broad strokes sketched out where they wanted it to go.
So maybe they just didn't know when they were going to end. Maybe they had the ending in mind, but they didn't know when they were going to end it. So season 3 is just kind of a little bit of it's kind of its own little mini adventure that doesn't really.
Well, yeah, when they wrote this, they didn't know they were going to get, 5 seasons. They didn't know that.
True.
So I really do think this is definitely one of their strongest seasons. I really enjoyed season 3 as well, I think, and I just lost my backdrop, so hopefully the rest of this episode sounds okay. If there's an echo now, I apologize. My comforter just dropped, which usually gives me a blanket of sound. So
now we can see the sext engineer.
Oh yeah, you can see it. You can see all
the swing's smaller than I thought.
Zach, that's too many whips. That's just too much.
You weren't supposed to see the man behind the curtain, guys.
What's up with the apple?
Or the dildos behind the curtain.
Oh no.
Oh no, those are technically vibrators. They have batteries.
Anyway.
No, I do want to like reach out to the people like Casey. Casey, did you even finish season 2, or did you stop after a certain episode?
No, I finished season 2.
Okay. Look, I remember liking season 2. I do remember the part where Elle goes off on her own and meets someone else that was experimented on and has like different powers. And I remember that.
And they've never referenced that again because everyone hated it.
Well, that's good because I hated it.
Yeah, I do remember that feeling. That was certainly the weakest part, I think, of the series. Not that character necessarily was a bad character. It just kind of felt way detached from the core story of Stranger Things. And they haven't done that since. So I will say, if that deterred you for whatever reason, watch the first episode of season 3. Casey, I implore you to watch the first episode of season 3 instead of like Devil's Story. Watch the first episode of season 3. I guarantee
Devil's Story is
it'll hook
a
you.
Masterpiece of international
No, it is not.
cinema.
It is a boring slog, 80-minute slog. Okay,
Chris, you need to be the tiebreaker.
Chris,
on this.
you will absolutely hate that movie. Nothing happens. You hear a horse neigh a couple times.
Another revelation we had watching season 3 and going into season 4 was how much this is pretty much left the Spielbergian kid venture stuff kind of behind. And
Oh,
since
yeah.
the kids have pretty much like become full teenagers now, they're pretty much embracing the horror of it all, and it still feels like PG-13 horror. Like nothing too
Somewhat.
gnarly
Yeah.
happens, but there's some fucked up shit in this season that is like, holy shit, kids are
I mean,
watching this shit.
I would say this is gnarlier than anything that was in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, which they were saying was like kind of hardcore for a Marvel movie. I don't know. I
Oh,
think
way more
Yeah,
gnarly.
but we established
Yeah.
the people that didn't think that was PG-13 were dumb.
this is harder PG-13 than anything in Doctor
This
Strange.
is just
and the Multiverse
like
of Madness.
a few buckets of blood short of Nightmare on Elm Street.
It really
Nice.
is. It really is their version of like a Dream Warriors scenario.
Yeah.
Basically, is what they're doing here. It's not as tongue in cheek as like Freddy. It's more in the Stranger Things molds. But I think it's well executed. I do like the new villain Vecna. He's pretty creepy. The way some of the kids in the show are dispatched. I'm not going to spoil who or what.
It's fucked up.
It's messed up. So it's good, man. It's really. I don't know, man. Every episode leaves you on some sort of cliffhanger note that I've enjoyed. That's maybe eager to see the next part, and I just think I can see it's building towards something. I have no idea what they're gonna go in season 5. I'm enjoying it, man. I'm really enjoyed the ride. I've even like Hopper's story. Who I'm not gonna spoil what happened to Hopper if you haven't seen season 3, which I thought would be maybe less interesting. I've found it good. I think David Harbour's a great actor. I've been intrigued in his relationships where he is. So I even things that I didn't expect to like as much, I've found myself more invested in. If you're a fan of the character Murray, he has a bigger part in this season, and he's great. They introduced a lot of new characters. Casey, there's one character specifically that you would absolutely love. His name is Eddie. He is like the lead of the Dungeons and Dragons group called.
Oh
all
yeah,
about
he
Eddie,
actually
yes.
yeah.
He's fantastic. He's basically like Ragman, but like cooler.
Yeah, you kind of think in the beginning he might like end up becoming just another bully villain character, but totally doesn't go that way.
No,
and it was
no.
still very
He's cool.
surprising in an enjoyable way.
Really, really good performance. So, yeah, guys, this is.
I got more to say.
I think. Yeah. No, I'm not. I'm not wrapping it up. But I
Don't
just,
wrap
Do you
up
know
yet.
what fucking Ragman's name was, Zach?
was it William Ragsdale? Is that right?
His name was fucking Eddie, bro. Jesus.
Eddie Ragsdale. Is that it? Wasn't Ragsdale his last name?
No, he's Ragman, dude.
Okay, Eddie. Who's William Ragsdale?
I don't know who the fuck you're talking about.
Maybe I'm thinking of someone else. Okay, I'm going to edit that part out. Anyway, no, I just want to say I think it's easy to kind of start hating. I think around like the end of season 2, before season 3, Stranger Things became like a cultural phenomenon. There was merch up the wazoo just as much as like Rick and Morty.
God, there still is.
You couldn't like go anywhere without seeing something, a Rick and Morty shit pickle.
They have Stranger Things merch right now at Petco.
Or not shit pickle. That's that's AVGN.
Yeah,
couldn't
shit
go
pickle
anywhere.
was AVGN.
You couldn't go anywhere without seeing a Rick and Morty pickle or Stranger Things merch. And
And
so I think
it's just Stranger Things now. If you want Hellfire Club merch, you got it.
and I get that it's easy to kind of like, it's so much, but for me, I've always still enjoyed the show. I kind of got into the show before, like I knew about it before anyone. I think before it became a thing, I saw the trailer and I thought, oh yeah, that looked cool, and then I started watching it, and then it became this huge hit, and I thought that was awesome, and so I've always stuck with it. And I think this season, I've been really impressed with how the writers have built upon the story and found different ways to kind of expand upon the lore in the world and make it make sense and not feel like they're just making shit up. It feels like this, what they're doing exists within this world. And I think all the characters have really grown, and I'm impressed with the arcs they've continued to find and develop these characters. So I've really enjoyed it. So Chris, do you want to talk about more specifics, some of the episodes? I'm trying not to spoil too much.
So you've been impressed with how they're running up that hill?
Yes. Keep running up that hill.
No, I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed this season. Like, the stuff I really liked was, kids are into Dungeons and Dragons now, and it's fucking 1988 now, is it?
Is it 6?
1988? I think it's
I thought it was
1988.
86.
It started in 83, and these kids are of age like 5 years at least.
Let me look it up. But
Okay.
keep going,
Well,
Chris.
anyway, so it's the late 80s, and they're into Dungeons and Dragons, which means there is paranoia once once these murders start happening that somehow
1986. Sorry.
Okay, fine. That can't be right. There's no way. This has just been 3 years. These kids have aged like 5 years at least. Anyway, there's so the kids are into Dungeons and Dragons, and when all these murders start happening, all these like fucking paranoid white Christian jocks start like spreading paranoia about Satanism and that they're a Satanist cult, which themes of
It's about
shit
2
that was
years
happening.
too late.
Yeah. I mean, that stuff was happening into the early 90s, though, the Satanic Panic, especially around Dungeons and Dragons. And they, like, form a mob to go after these kids, which is, like, some of the most suspenseful stuff in the whole season. Like
specifically Eddie, because he's sort of
Yes.
pinned as the one that's maybe causing these deaths, which I'm
Yeah.
not going to say anything else about that. But
yeah, probably the more suspenseful stuff, even more than the monsters, was just those fucking scary-ass white dudes that are coming after the nerds because they think they're Satan worshippers. That stuff I loved. I went into the season really hoping we'd get a lot of stuff with Robin and Steve in the video store. There's a little bit of that at the very beginning. Not enough in my opinion. I love the dynamic that Robin and Steve have kind of come up with. Is they're basically
great.
they're basically just buddies. They're basically like they have this sort of like buddy cop relationship now. Like it's great to see that sort of relationship represented on the show. Like practically being each other's wingman and giving each other dating advice. Yeah, it's just like the stuff with I don't know. Do we want to say which characters get kind of split up into their own thing? I mean, we kind of
sure, we can say. I mean,
David Harbour's character, and then Elle. It's just that I found a lot of their stuff to be just very repetitive. I mean, David Harbour is like trying to escape from a Russian prison camp. That just starts to feel monotonous.
Mild spoiler. It's a little bit of a spoiler for the end of season 3, but it's okay.
Yeah,
And for Black Widow also.
If you saw the
it's a
trailers for
spoiler.
this season, I mean, come on. But yeah, that stuff it's mildly repetitive, and stuff with Elle on her own gets pretty sort of repetitive as they're basically sort of laying the groundwork for revelations in the last episode, essentially. I think the main bad guy is a little bland. I mean, he's basically like he's got a gnarly way of killing people that's pretty intense. And I like how all that is sort of handled. Just the character in and of itself. I guess they're trying to keep a little bit of his character sort of mysterious for reasons. But he kind of just came off as like a Freddy Krueger without the jokes for a lot of it. So yeah, some of that I think is just kind of okay. I think this is still probably my second favorite season, maybe. Only because now when you compare this season with like season one looks like an indie drama. Like they've inflated this show so much and are fully like calling it the Game of Thrones season, like really trying to sort of like build this whole thing of wanting this to be a even bigger phenomenon than it already is, and really get people hyped over it. But I had fun with it, and I think it'll probably have like a really long but fairly satisfying conclusion. And I hope that Robin and Steve don't die.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think Vecna is more in the maybe Pinhead mold almost than Freddy. He's kind of somewhere between the two.
A little bit, yeah.
He could be, have a little more colorful personality, but I think that doesn't really fit their lore and their world to have a Freddy Krueger, ripoff. But they were smart enough, knowing that they were going to be referencing Dream Warriors so much, to get Robert Englund himself to have a little bit of a role in this season. And he has a pretty fun part.
I forgot that he was in the season. Watching it, I was like, man, there's a lot of like motifs and references to Nightmare on Elm Street. And then Robert Englund showed up, and I was like, oh fuck yeah, that's right.
I have a feeling he's only in one episode of the first 7, but I have a feeling he's going to show up again in one of the last 2.
Maybe it kind of felt just like a cameo role,
without saying too much. But yeah, I know I hear what you're saying about Vecna. He could be a little more vibrant maybe as a character, but they explore his backstory a bit in one of the last episodes without giving anything away, and they expand upon his character, so you find out like who he is. And
Spoilers.
Yeah, I didn't give anything away. So I don't know, man. I've really enjoyed this season. I really have liked the character dynamics and the way the groups have kind of split up and then the stories have converged. I thought it was all really clever and well done. There's another new character alongside Eddie called Argyle, who's Jonathan's friend. I think they're in Sonora, California, the town they moved to, and he is hilarious. You know, they're basically potheads, but he works like a pizza shop. There's even like a number for like the pizza place he works at, Surfer Boy Pizza, that you can call and hear a message from him if you find the number from the show. He's a really fun character. I'm just impressed how seamlessly they're able to integrate new elements while continuing to tell the overarching story they're doing. It never feels like too much. I've never really gotten too lost with the story besides just needing to remember a couple characters from a couple seasons ago just because it's been so long. But there are recaps you can watch if you want to remember all that or just look it up. And every episode is built upon, I think built the story well. I felt like the pace has been pretty good. It's never really... Every scene seems to have a purpose, whether it's character development or plot progression.
The whole sequence that with the kids like we explore a little bit more of the Upside Down and go on sort of a little adventure, like in the second half of the season. All that stuff is great. I loved all that stuff where all the kids are finally sort of teaming up and having to work together from on one side of the Upside Down and the other side of the Upside Down. That all was a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. That was cool. And so yeah, if you're on the fence, I don't know if there's anyone on the fence after season 3, but if you were on the fence after season 2 and never got back into it, I think it's a good time to jump back in.
And your name is Casey.
If your name's Casey. I'm sure there's honestly 30-minute recaps on season 3. If you just want to watch that and not watch the whole season, you could probably do something like that on YouTube.
No, watch season 3. It's the best season.
It's really good. Honestly, Casey, I implore you, as much as I watch some of the stuff you recommend to me, just watch the first episode.
Zach, I think money is going to have to enter the equation.
If you don't like it,
Yeah.
Okay, be a stick in the
You're
mud.
have to Venmo him some money.
You're making a very big mistake, but that's okay. You will regret it for the rest of your life, but that's all right.
It's okay. I'm good with it.
I never watched Stranger
It's literally like everything that you like in a show. Not everything you like, but it's a lot of things you like in a show.
Well, I can see this is like an argument with Stranger Things that I've heard some people have, and I can totally understand it, which is, the show itself doesn't have like a strong identity in and of itself, other than like through, I'd say, some of the character stuff. And that's what I think is why the show has like gotten such a following, is because I think the character stuff is so strong. But like all the stuff it's sort of riffing on, is not really of its own identity. I mean, it's the sort of the throwback sort of essence of itself is, there's not much originality.
I think that was the weakest thing with maybe season 2 for some people, is that it became more like 80s reference to show or something like that. Whereas I think this season really is just its own. There's barely any references to any 80s thing. I mean, there's a couple of movie references.
Except for Nightmare on Elm Street, a lot.
Yeah, but I mean like specific, like, there's a couple nods here and there, but this is really they're telling their story and you're in their world, and it feels this feels the closest to the first season to me out of all the seasons since the first one. I think it feels like a more, even though it's a grander story, it feels like a more intimate Hawkins sort of. It feels like a more intimate core Stranger Things saga than like season 2 and 3, which stretched to different locations, and I guess season 2 didn't, but like I feel like they were juggling the era that it's set in so much more, and this one is like kind of putting we're in the 80s beside and telling the story instead of, or like in season 3, as much as I loved it, it was like, okay, here's an 80s mall, remember all these stores, it's awesome, but like it was awesome. That's less of an emphasis in this. They're not worried about referencing too much. They're just telling their story, and I think even though they're like references, they're not worried about like, look at this cool 80s shirt I'm wearing. It's so I think this has been great. I highly recommend it. If you have not been, if you've fallen off of it like Casey, definitely give it a shot. Watch one episode or watch a recap. I think this is a really strong season. I think it's going to have a great ending, and I'm sure season 5 is going to be fantastic as well. So get on the ride, guys. It's fun. I know it's easy to hate on a show as popular as Stranger Things. Trust me, I get that. I haven't gotten to Game of Thrones yet, so maybe I shouldn't be talking about watching Stranger Things when I haven't watched like something like Game of Thrones. But you can't watch everything. But if you're into horror movies, if you like the things we talked about on the show, I think you would like Stranger Things, and I think you would like this season. It's really been enjoyable. So that's what I got to say. 2 thumbs up for me, and we'll see how it ends. We shall see. All right, guys, I don't know if there's anything else to get into today, so let's just plug our social media and get out of here, right? So,
Get out of here, go take a shit.
If you want, you can follow
Go
us
see
on
some
Twitter.
daylight.
If you want, you can follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/AMPHorror. You can also subscribe to us on YouTube under Another Mishable Podcast. And if you have anything you'd like to recommend to us, any kind of cool discussion topics you want us to talk about, if you're interested in being a guest on the show and you have something you want to promote, if you were at Monsterpalooza and you want to say hi, write us at Another Mishable Podcast at gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to collaborate with you. Guys, where can they find you on social media? Kris, where are you at?
I'm at twitter.com/ChrisPistol, Chris with a K, Pistol with a E, and Letterboxd with the same name.
And Casey, what about you, man?
I am at Lucha Gringo on both Letterboxd and Twitter. Oh yeah, and also on PSN, so you can play some Fortnite with me. We'll unlock Darth Vader and Indiana Jones together. How about that?
And you can follow me on Twitter, twitter.com/Earth2Zach, Earth, the number 2, Zach, Z-A-K. You can also find me on Letterboxd and Instagram with the same handle. Casey, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to create a poll on our official Twitter account, and I'm going to say, should Casey watch season 3 of Stranger Things? And every answer is going to be yes.
It won't change
Okay,
my mind.
I'm going to create a poll, just in case you care what the listeners of the podcast think, and my answer is going to be no.
You know what? It's okay. I'm just going to ratio your ass out, okay?
The answer is still no. Thank you for listening.
Have a great day, everybody. Please stay safe. Please take it easy. And I hope you're enjoying the wonderful weather wherever you are, unless it's not wonderful, in which case I apologize. Move to LA.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet here. About to go for a walk.
But have an awesome day. Have an awesome week. See you.